The little girl in the photo was holding a blue stuffed bunny in her arms, the same one Sophie had kept throughout her childhood. Lucy's heart stopped for a moment. How could this be possible? If you don't want to miss any of our future narratives, subscribe to the channel, and now, enjoy. Lucy was a woman who lived a seemingly quiet and peaceful life in a small rural town in central Virginia. She had 3 sons, a welcoming home, and a husband, Russell, whose rigid and authoritarian behavior often cast a shadow on family happiness. Despite this, the woman strove to maintain a harmonious environment for her children. But her life hid a deep pain, a secret that tormented her every day, the loss of her only daughter during a complicated birth. Lucy had always wanted a little girl, and on the day her little girl came into the world, hope turned to tragedy. The birth, which seemed interminable, culminated in absolute silence when the little girl was born lifeless. The room that should have been filled with joy was instead shrouded in indescribable sadness. Lucy hugged her little girl's lifeless body, feeling her heart break into 1,000 pieces. Russell, insensitive to his wife's suffering, decided to deal with the situation in his own way. "Don't be weak," she told Lucy. "The women in my family have always given birth at home, and so should you." Despite Lucy's pain and desperation, Russell remained steadfast in his decision not to seek medical attention. This intransigence of his profoundly affected Lucy, leaving her with a sense of helplessness and loneliness. Days passed, and Lucy tried to find the strength to carry on, supported only by the love for her children. One day, however, Russell made a surprising decision. "If it's a daughter you want, it's a daughter you'll have," he declared, leaving the house with a very specific purpose. After an entire day of absence, Russell returned with a little girl of about 2 years old in his arms. "Here is your daughter," he said coldly, offering no explanation as to how he found her. The little girl, Sophie, was scared and confused. She held onto a blue stuffed bunny, her only comfort. Lucy, despite the shock and anguish, began to care for Sophie with all the love she had in her heart. Sophie didn't talk much, but every day she got closer and closer to Lucy, who slowly gained her trust. The little girl called Lucy Mom and Russell Dad, gradually accepting her new reality. Years passed, and Sophie grew up with her brothers into a kind and loving young woman. Despite Russell's aloof behavior, which favored his sons, Lucy and Sophie developed an unbreakable bond. Sophie decided to become a teacher and began working in the village's rural school, sharing her love of knowledge with the village children. When Russell became seriously ill and was confined to bed, the family faced the situation with composure. Despite the conflicting feelings they had for him, Lucy and her children cared for Russell until the day he no longer woke up. His death brought to light many buried secrets, and it was while organizing Russell's items that Lucy and Sophie made a shocking discovery. Lucy found a small wooden box with a padlock. Curiosity pushed mother and daughter to break the lock and open the box. Inside, they found an old flyer about a missing little girl, and to their disbelief, the photo on the flyer was Sophie's. The little girl in the photo was holding a blue stuffed bunny in her arms, the same one that Sophie had kept throughout her childhood. Lucy's heart stopped for a moment. How could this be possible? Sophie had been adopted, but the story Russell told was that she had been abandoned by a couple of vagabonds. The truth was much more disturbing. Along with the flyer, they found a notebook with a series of monthly payments recorded in the name of Charles, an old employee of the farm. There was also a threatening note that said, "If you don't pay me the amount I asked for, I will tell the whole truth about the little girl you stole." Lucy and Sophie decided to find Charles to discover the truth. They found him on a nearby farm, and after learning of Russell's death, Charles confessed everything. "Russell was visibly disturbed that day," he began. "He asked me to accompany him to a city 3 hours away. There, in a public park, he kidnapped a little girl whose parents were distracted. I didn't immediately understand the gravity of what was happening, but when I realized it, I agreed to keep the secret in exchange for monthly payments." Charles continued, "Russell honored these payments for years, but now that he is dead, I no longer have reason to protect his secret." Lucy and Sophie were shocked, but they finally had a lead to follow. They decided to go to the city indicated in the flyer to look for Sophie's biological family. The atmosphere on the trip was tense, with Lucy feeling deeply guilty for raising a child without knowing she had been kidnapped. They arrived in the city and immediately went to the police station. Commissioner Oliver, a veteran of the force, listened to their story in disbelief. "I remember the search for that little girl," he said. "The whole town mobilized to find her." Oliver offered to accompany Sophie to her biological family's home, promising that this meeting would transform their lives. Sophie stopped in front of the house, her heart pounding. The doorbell rang and the door opened. If you like the story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other exciting stories. Thank you for your support. A woman opened the door. Their eyes met, and the tense silence was broken by the woman's words. "Sophie, you are my daughter. I always knew it." The woman hugged Sophie, and in that moment, fragments of forgotten memories resurfaced in Sophie's mind. She remembered her brief childhood with that woman and her older brothers. That moment marked the beginning of a new life for Sophie and her biological family. A secret kept for many years had finally emerged, bringing with it pain, but also hope. Lucy watched from afar, feeling relieved and sad at the same time, knowing that her daughter's life would take a new direction. Russell, with his dark past, would never face justice for his crime. The truth, however, had come out, and life went on for those who had been profoundly affected by his actions. This is the end of a dark chapter and the beginning of a new journey for Sophie and her family, a journey of reconciliation, healing, and reparations.